Hi guys, so welcome to my YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is dedicated to learning Python programming language for data science. And today we'll be looking at the input function. The input function is a Python built-in function. So again, for documentation purpose, we are going to just put down a few comments. Right, so it's a Python built-in function. And what does it do? Which is interesting because every time you would want a user to provide an input if you want to make some type of an analysis. So basically the input function captures user input and it captures user input. So basically input functions captures user inputs. So that's what it is. It takes it as a string. Right? Now it's interesting the things it can do. It can then process whatever data the user has inputted, and it stops executing, until the user has provided the input. Right. So there's a lot it can do. It gives you an opportunity to, create some sort of like an interactive program. Now, if we have to go back a little bit, you would notice that in the past videos we've always created variables. So this time around with the input function, we would no longer create variables. We will just simply create an input function and let the users provide their input. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to create a simple input function. Right, so that's basically what I will do. Now, here's basically a structure of how the input function is. So first you're going to have a user underscore input, and then we're going to introduce the input itself. So that's what it is. And inside, we are now going to put in a prompt. A prompt is going to tell you to input something. So you would have to input something inside, right? And so that's just what it looks like. So this is what it basically looks like. Now we're going to go ahead and create a simple input function. Now I'm just going to call this name. And inside a simple input function is basically going to ask you to put in your name, which is what I'm creating over here, right? So with this, I ask, what is your name? Right, with a question mark and a space. Then I just come underneath here and with an F string, just to make it readable, I basically say hello. Then in a curly brace, I put the name inside of it. So which just makes it pretty intuitive and simple. Now, when I run this, you see that it's asking for my input. And so I put Pablo. And again, I run this. Oh, hold on a bit. There was something weird that went on. So Pablo, then enter. Exactly. So that's just what an input function does. And there's also an interesting thing. The input function by default returns a string. So we have to also state that. Input functions outputs strings. So how do we deal with a situation how do you deal with a need for integers? Right, so that's also an interesting one. And say for instance you want to ask someone how old they are, or you want to now do a comparison with the information or the data they input, that's not going to work. You're going to have an error, right? Let's say we have a situation where we have age underscore person, and here we put the input. And so the question is just going to be simple. How old are you? Right. Now, with that, I wanted to say that once the person puts in their age, it's just going to store it in here, right? Right. So with this, and I run this, right? How old are you? And I say 35, and I put. Now, what that means is that age underscore person is 35. You can see that. So let's just put a print statement here to make it look good. It's 35. Now, what if I wanted to, say, put a conditional statement that say if age underscore person is greater than 20, print, you print, say, you are old enough. So with that, I run this. Now you see that there's a problem. It tells you that the greater than, this operand here is not supported between an instance of the string and int. So that's because this is a string. Again, if I was to come over here and check this, I'm basically going to use the type class or function to check what age underscore person is. It's a string. So you see that you cannot try to make use of this. It's not supported between a string and an integer. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to, so how do we walk-in for numeric inputs, right? So with this, I'm going to start all over again. I'm going to say age person, and then of course I'm just going to come over here and say, let me take this guy because this is what I want. Then I put it over here. Next is I'm now going to say age person, but this time I'm going to introduce the int function, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to say age person. Now we can now go ahead and say print, of course use the string formatter f string and say you are, and with this we just say age person that says years old, right? And so you see this now works. And so 35, you are 35 years old. Now let's come back here, and this time around, if we now pick this guy and we bring it over here and write a conditional statement, you see now that works. So that exactly is what an input function looks like. So the input function lets users, put in something, put in data, put in information, and it does an output. By default, it outputs a string. And so if you want to work with numerical data, definitely you'll have to introduce the int function. So yeah, so take time out and look at basic input functions and pretty much how they are created. And again, keep an eye on the use case, data analysis use case channel or use case playlist, because we're going to be pushing use cases over there. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Learn Python programming for data science.